Arjun was an inquisitive and imaginative 7-year-old boy. Every night, after his parents tucked him into bed, he would sit up and chat animatedly with his best friend, Zeon. His parents, Rajesh and Mira, initially found it adorable. They would often hear their son giggling and whispering, and when they asked who he was talking to, he would beam and say, "Zeon, my alien friend. He visits me every night from planet Orbos." At first, they dismissed it as a phase, assuming it was the result of Arjun's active imagination. But as weeks turned into months, they grew concerned. Arjun's dependence on Zeon deepened. He would refuse to eat unless Zeon approved of the food. He would not complete his homework unless Zeon dictated what to write. If asked to make a decision, he would first consult Zeon. His world revolved around an invisible presence that no one else could see or hear. One evening, at a family gathering, Arjun refused to shake hands with an uncle. "Zeon says you are untrustworthy," he declared. The room fell silent. His parents exchanged worried glances. Mira decided it was time to seek help. They took Arjun to Dr. Prakash, a renowned child psychologist. After a few sessions, Dr. Prakash explained, "It's not uncommon for children to have imaginary friends, but Arjun's attachment to Zeon is unusual. We must help him distinguish reality from imagination." Rajesh and Mira followed the doctor's advice. They gently encouraged Arjun to interact more with real friends and limited his solo bedtime conversations. But the more they tried, the more resistant he became. "You don't understand. Zeon is real," he protested. In a desperate attempt to help their son, Rajesh and Mira took him to a religious center, hoping that faith would provide him with a sense of balance. A priest welcomed them warmly and guided them to a large hall where people were deep in prayer. "Here, my child, we speak to God, who watches over us and guides us," the priest said. Arjun looked around, puzzled. "Where is he?" he asked. The priest smiled. "We don't see him, but we know he is here." Arjun tilted his head. "How do you know?" "Because we feel his presence in our hearts. We pray to him, and he listens." Arjun's eyes widened in revelation. "So, you pray to someone you can't see? You do things because he tells you." The priest nodded. Arjun looked at his parents and then at the priest. "Then why haven't you taken yourselves to Dr. Prakash?" he asked, his voice innocent but piercing. The hall fell silent. Rajesh and Mira exchanged a glance, suddenly realizing the irony of their actions. The priest was speechless. Arjun simply shrugged. "I think Zeon and your God would be great friends," he said, before skipping out of the hall, leaving the adults lost in thought. As Rajesh and Mira struggled to process their son's words, a family friend who had been observing the situation approached them. "You should speak to a man named Tavamithram," they suggested. "He helps people see things clearly through Vedanta. You can contact him through his website." Desperate for guidance, Rajesh and Mira reached out and arranged an online meeting with Tavamithram. When they explained their concerns, he listened patiently and then surprised them by agreeing with Arjun. "There's nothing wrong with what your son is saying," he said. "His argument is perfectly logical. If you tell him that his imaginary friend isn't real, then how can you claim that yours is? Do you see the contradiction?" Rajesh and Mira were taken aback. "But we are Hindus," they responded. "Oh, really?" Tavamithram asked. "What is Hindu, and have you read the Srimad Bhagavad Gita?" They exchanged uneasy glances. "No, we haven't, but we have read some shlokas, which our friends send us." Tavamithram sighed. So, you've read shlokas from what is commonly called WhatsApp University? Have you ever noticed how many so-called Hindus in India place their hand on the Bhagavad Gita in court, swearing to speak the truth, yet they've never actually read it? How hypocritical and absurd is that? He then recited a shloka from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, shloka 24, where Krishna, the personification of the eternal and all-pervading truth known as Brahman, signifying existence and consciousness, speaks of those who misunderstand the supreme truth. SBG 724. Translation: Foolish people who do not know my formless, exalted, imperishable, and supreme nature think I assume a manifest human form. Tavamithram clarified to Rajesh and Meera, Bhagavan Krishna calls such people foolish. You see, Vedanta is not about believing, it is about realizing. Realizing what? Realizing that belief is for those who follow religions, particularly organized religions, with strict do's and don'ts. Vedanta is not a religion. It is the highest intellectual achievement a human being can attain. Once realized, no questions remain. Unlike in organized religions in which their God says that there is no way but through them, there is no such concept in Vedanta. There isn't a single shloka in the entire Srimad Bhagavad Gita in which Krishna asks Arjuna to blindly believe in him. In fact, towards the end of the 18th chapter, which is the last chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Krishna asks Arjuna to reflect over the teachings and act as he wishes. So where was the question of belief, obedience, or blind following? Rajesh and Meera sat in silence, absorbed in Tavamithram's words. For the first time, they felt a shift, not in their beliefs, but in their understanding. The couple promised Tavamithram to read the simple and easy-to-understand translations of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita done by him, and to watch his videos that would help them shed all kinds of meaningless beliefs and take to the supreme path of Vedanta, as taught by Sri Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Oh yes, the family lived happily ever after.